Mike Robinson shows how part of this is going to sound to players and how they're going to feel about this. And I don't know how important that is. It's not like a guy's not going to block for Russ because he doesn't like what he said in the offseason. It's not, but it does show that there's a third side to this equation that shouldn't be entirely neglected.
Right, and you want to know he's bought in. I mean, yeah, if he shows up and he plays, does it really matter? But, I mean, you got a livelihood, too, if you're on this team. And if you're Jamal Adams, I think before you sign that long-term contract, you want to have a good idea about the future of this team with Russell Wilson versus the future without it. And that's just him. There are a number of other players that I imagine are looking at this situation through the same lens. How about DK Metcalf, whose contract is up in 2 years? So I think these are things that Russ is going to have to find a way to fix on his own. And I imagine that he will go about doing it, but I guess there's a chance that he doesn't. And that will be really awkward if that's the way he chooses to approach it. And I do think that there is something, too, with all quarterbacks in the NFL where they're a little bit removed from the rest of the locker room. And this is going to be, I think, an interesting moment for Russ when it comes to just that relationship that he has with the rest of the team. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all again, but I do think that if I were in his shoes, it's something I would want to take care of as soon as I can.
What kind of superstar do you want to be? It's a question that somebody like Russ... Look, Russ is the most important player on this team. And that's true regardless of what he says or how he... Like, he's the most... His decision-making, what he wants and what he says and what he does is going to have the most impact on this franchise. What kind of superstar do you want to be? Because you see different examples of it, and quarterbacks are a little bit removed. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has the best relationship with all of his teammates. There have been different guys that have kind of, between the lines, complained, or in Jermichael Finley's case, like, openly been about it. Like, he's rubbed guys. It's not unusual to have this, but what kind of superstar do you want to be? Because Russ has every right to say, hey, I want better protection. I want to be protected more. And that's going to have the repercussion of, yeah, maybe it pressures the team into addressing it. It's also going to make people feel that, like, you're elevating yourself above it. What kind of superstar do you want to be? Because you are the star. Like, that's completely within your... Tom Brady, in some ways, Brady's been the exact opposite of what Russell does. Because Brady screams at guys on the field. Brady absolutely tears into guys on the field. But publicly, he doesn't ever so much. I mean, the most memorable commercial he has in my mind is him making his 5 offensive linemen a star of the commercial with their 5 layers of protection when they're all wearing helmets. You do have a question if you're Russ. What kind of superstar do you want to be?
And I feel like he already is the superstar that he wants to be, isn't he? To an extent. I mean, if he is viewing himself in this way where if he's not getting the help that he thinks it might be necessary for him to go elsewhere, I think he has a pretty clear view of himself and confidence in himself that makes him think that, okay, well, these are the guys that are holding me back. It's not necessarily myself that's holding me back. And, okay, go ahead, be confident in yourself. You should be confident, but at the same time, I think a little reality check is sometimes needed for all superstars.
Guys can change with regard to that. Like, you see constant examples of players who mature or become different. There's some guys that don't, but you see players. Kobe Bryant was significantly different in his 30s than he was in his 20s. It's different because it's
but
the
he
NFL.
Lost. He started losing, and there were injuries, too, that took place along the way, too. Maybe not as significant as they were at the end, but, right? I mean, I would imagine the losing phase for Kobe Bryant was a big reality check. Russ is yet to lose, you know?
But he thinks he's losing. Right? Russ thinks he's losing.
That's a fair point.
Russ thinks he's losing right now.
12-4 NFC West champs.
Right. And that shows a little bit, it's a reflection of his incredibly high standards. But there's also, look, any discussion of what is happening with Russ and why this is happening, I think devolves into amateur psychoanalysis of Russell Wilson, which maybe we're going to just have to put him on the couch later this week and try and figure out what's going on.